I think everybody is feeling extremely stressed about this election, needless to say, because it's so important. And I don't think we've ever had quite such a clear choice in terms of political philosophy and ideology and where people want to take the direction of the country. So tell me what you're thinking. What are you looking at? And I'm going to drill down and ask some questions, and I'm going to invite my followers to ask some questions too.
Sure. Well, I think Donald Trump's going to lose. He's going to get beat like a slow government mule over the next few days. We have challenges in a few states about counting the huge number of absentee ballots. So in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, though not all states, they have rather antiquated laws that don't let the clerk start counting the absentee until today. And, they've got hundreds of thousands of them sitting there. Other states like Ohio, Georgia, North Carolina, and most critically today, Florida, have started counting, 10 days ago as they came in. So today, we're going to get the Florida numbers, 95, 97% of them by late tonight. A lot of them by middle of, by 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Wow.
And I think Trump's going to lose Florida. And that's what 9 out of 10 pollsters say. And I know people say, oh, polls are wrong. Well, statistical science is right. If you don't believe me, drive your car into a tree at 20 miles an hour and see if the airbag goes off. Did the astronauts make it to the moon? That's statistical science. So I'm quite confident he's going to lose, and I'm pretty confident he's going to lose Florida pretty quickly, potentially Georgia, probably North Carolina, and maybe even Ohio. So people just need to don't turn on your TV till 9 o'clock tonight. Sit back, have some popcorn, and I'm quite confident, and I know you've heard this before in 2016, but it's a very different year, that it's going to be a tough night for the president.
Okay. Wow. Mike, I didn't know you were going to come out so decisively about this. This is fascinating. So let's talk first about Florida. You said that the election officials in Florida started counting mail-in ballots and early voting, I'm assuming, right? 10 days ago, right?
Yeah, Florida's one of the few states where tonight you're going to know probably 90% of the total vote, maybe even more. There are always a few military ballots that come in late. Most states allow you that if your absentee ballot is postmarked by election day and it shows up a day late, though not all. So get it in. Even if for some reason you haven't mailed it, walk it in, get it in. But we're going to know a lot in Florida. We're going to know a lot in Ohio late tonight, too. And we're going to know a lot in North Carolina. And if Trump loses, Florida, no Republican has won the presidency since, in 96 years, 1924, without Florida. And nobody's ever won without Ohio. So Biden's good advantage in this campaign has been he is playing mostly offense in Trump states. There's not like a solid blue state where Trump is on offense. Trump is in a totally defensive game here. And, that's awful hard to win.
I'm so confident, Mike, about Florida because everything that I've been seeing, it's been neck and neck. Obviously, I think the president knows it's a must-win state. So I'm curious why what makes you so confident? Because haven't the polls been within a margin of error?
They've been at the far side of margin of error. The last 20 polls, if you narrow them down to the credible polls, because polling is tough. It's like brain surgery. You don't want to go with the low bid, but a lot of newspapers do go with the low bid. I've been running Republican voters against Trump. We call it Orange Crush, which is about a $10 million campaign in Florida aimed at peeling Republicans and independents off Trump. So we've done a lot of very expensive, very good polling. So has the Bloomberg operation. So has the Biden campaign. And all those polls have showed Biden ahead. It can be 2 points in the margin of error. Some have been as high as 6 points outside the margin of error. The only credible poll that showed Trump ahead is the Washington Post ABC poll, which is one of my least favorite polls. And it was in the margin of error, but it leaned a little toward Trump. So the reason Trump is in trouble there is the reason he's in trouble almost everywhere. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Arizona, etc. The national race has been stuck at 7 to 9, even 10 points for months and months and months. I hate to bash my paymasters at the great and wonderful network we both worked at, but it's true across the board that cable news and internet content providers have a business interest in making every day a close election. You know, every day is the biggest day of the campaign. That's why Biden sneezes twice. That's going to be breaking news. A siren's going to go up at CNN. So, you know, the truth is this has been a pretty settled race for a long time because people want to fire Donald Trump. And so I know it's funny. I have a podcast with David Axelrod and Robert Gibbs called Hacks on Tap. And, you know, we're a bunch of old hacks and often we're half drunk when we record this thing. We did one late Sunday night. You can get all our predictions, Axelrod, Gibbs, and me, state by state at Hacks on Tap. And I kind of, you know, had a beverage and I went into this rant that as an anti-Trump Republican who is renting, not buying Democrat this year, I'm supporting Joe Biden because I think Trump is unfit. I couldn't believe it. I was yelling at those guys. I said, in the Republican Party, when we're 9 points ahead in a campaign, we're waving swords, we're laughing, orgies are breaking out at campaign headquarters. We're happy. It's great. You don't get a lot of 9-point leads. So, you know, lighten up. But the Dems are just grousing.
Don't you think they have PTSD from last time?
Yeah, totally. I mean, my joke to steal from John Stuart Mills is the Republican Party under Trump has become the stupid party, but the Democrats are always the neurotic party. And so it's just their nature. Oh, we're 8 points ahead. What can go wrong? I'm like, no, kill, be a Viking. You're winning. Enjoy it. So, you know, I can't guarantee Florida's going to flip, but I bet money. I feel good about Georgia and Arizona, too. And Michigan and Wisconsin look great. Pennsylvania looks good. But the problem with Pennsylvania is, like a few other states, they're new to this whole mass absentee mail-in voting thing. And they had a clunky law, and the count, it's going to be like Florida in 2000. The count there are going to be lawsuits. It's going to be crazy. Well, but if Florida pops tonight, it's done.
Well, I wanted to ask you a couple questions. I want to remind people watching that you are a lifelong Republican. Tell everyone the campaigns you worked on in the past, Mike.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, I'm a certified right-wing kook and proud of it. I'm a conservative. I worked on 5 presidential campaigns, including Bush Sr. and John McCain in 2000, the old Straight Talk Express. I'm a McCain guy. I might note that over 100 McCain former staffers have endorsed Biden. I did a lot of governor races. Arnold Schwarzenegger's campaign, Mitt Romney's successful campaign for governor of Massachusetts, both of Jeb Bush's winning campaigns in Florida, governors in Wisconsin, John Engler in Michigan. You know, I've been at it a long time on the Republican side and proud of it. But I couldn't fathom Donald Trump. I've been anti-Trump since 1992. I don't know where these Johnny-come-latelys are from, but I was working for Christine Todd Whitman, the governor of New Jersey, did both of her successful campaigns. And Trump was down in Atlantic City just stinking up the place, had to deal with him a little bit. And I've been a bug-eyed screaming anti-Trumper ever since. So I'm for Biden this year.
Okay, I wanted you to clarify that for everybody, Mike. And let's talk about what voters are peeling away from Trump in Florida. I read an interesting article about the Villages, which is that sort of retirement community in Florida that seemed to be very pro-Trump in 2016.
Yeah.
And I interviewed somebody who was a manager there, did PR there, and said there were so many people, even though their neighbors were super pro-Trump, who were seniors who were saying, we can't support this guy again, largely because of the coronavirus. Tell us who, you know, how did Biden pull this off, if in fact he pulls this off?
Well, I'd say 3 things. One, you got to remember that Florida's always close. Barack Obama beat my pal Mitt Romney there by only 74,000 votes out of 9 million. Donald Trump beat Hillary by 114,000 votes. So it's a very dug-in state. But when you look at it now, you can divide the voters 2 ways. You can do party ID. So the Republicans, Trump's going to win them, but it won't be 95%. And that's a lot of what we've been doing to Republicans, voters against Trump. We've been trying to chisel them down to the 80s because that's material. Every vote that goes away there really hates Trump. So he'll be 88, 90% of Republicans, but he won't be 95. Then you've got Democrats. Biden's going to get all of them. Then you got decline to state or independence or NPP, no party preference, independence. Biden's going to win them by 8 to 12, maybe even 13, 14 points. Mm-hmm. So among the 3 groups, Biden's going to win 2 out of 3. That's going to help. He's going to win all the Dems. He's going to beat Trump, let's say, by 10 among indies and chisel away at some Republicans. Then you can look at demography. So you're talking about mostly Sumter County, kind of the north part of the I-4 corridor to Villages. That is a Republican county, and Trump is going to carry it. The question is, will he carry it by as much as he used to? I don't think so. Next door, Hernando County, one of the great, that and Pasco, a little farther west, those are classic swing counties. Trump did far better than Romney there, particularly in Hernando. Will he repeat that, or will he be chipped down a little? I think he'll be chipped down. Then you get to Pinellas, Clearwater, the western part of Tampa Bay. Watch it tonight, because that is one of the classic Florida swing counties. Romney lost it by about, I think, 6 or 7. Trump won it by 1. Latest poll has him down 8 points in Pinellas County. If that flips back to Biden, that's a real tell.
And that seems to be changing a lot demographically. But right, county by county, Mike, what about seniors? What about suburban women? We've seen them really, it seems to me, kind of pivot away from Donald Trump. And although Latinos in Florida have been surprisingly strong, can you just tell us a little bit about the demographics and how that's shaking out?
Sure. Florida, compared to some of those Midwestern states, is much more multicultural. Now, in almost every state, if you're a woman with a college degree, you hate Trump. It's just, he's getting slaughtered there. That's why he's in trouble. That's why he's 8 or 9 points behind nationally. And then if you're a woman without a college degree, Biden's doing better than Hillary did. People, often the media covers everything through identity. So wait a minute, all women have to vote for Hillary. Well, the fact is a lot of women didn't like Hillary. Biden with non-college educated men is doing better, and he's doing a bit better with women. I think the ACA issue is part of that. So Biden's got the great four corners offense where he's chipping away. He owns college educated women. He's losing, but in the hunt for white high school educated women. And working class guys don't hate him as much as they hated Hillary. Now, as far as Latinos, Florida is a huge Latino population, 1 out of 5 voters. But it's tricky. Many different subsects, and sometimes commentators lump all Latino voters together, which is a mistake. The Latino vote in California is a bit different than Florida. So in Florida, it's even different by media markets. Up in the Orlando media market is heavily Puerto Rican, heavily Democrat. And Biden's doing great there. You get over into Tampa Bay, you have Cuban Americans, El Salvadoran, Nicaraguan, Honduran. And then you go down to Miami, where you have a strong, traditionally Republican Cuban vote, and also a Venezuelan vote that's very tuned into kind of politics with the dictator Maduro back home.
Right. And the message really penetrates that population.
Yeah, well, where Trump has sold some tickets has been among the Cubans who are already Republican. But Biden has some baggage there because of the Obama opening to Cuba, which was divisive in that community. Some of the older Cubans don't like it. Now, Arvat, we've spent nearly $1 million on a spot in Spanish down there reminding folks that, Trump's best friends in the world are dictators. Kim Jong-il, Vladimir Putin, and we think we've scratched away at them a little. What that really means is when Dade County comes in, which will be a little later, it just tends to report late tonight, will Biden come out of there with more than a 20-point advantage? Mid to low 20s is kind of good and normal Hillary. High 20s would be a home run. But if Biden can do it by 21 or 20, a little under Hillary, I think he'll be fine. If he's only winning by 15 or 14 points, then he's got a problem. He's got to make up in Orlando and in other parts of the state. The last thing to do is watch the golf club counties where you have Republicans, but they're not so crazy about Donald Trump. That's Collier County down in Naples. Trump will carry it, but will his margin get cut? And then Duval County, Jacksonville, where Trump ran behind Romney, and Romney lost the state. Trump may lose Duval County this time.
Why is that?
Well, Duval is Duval. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've said you call that a country club county, and you say Trump may lose it.
Well, because it's a very diverse county. There's a growing African American vote. Second, there is a regular Republican vote, but there's also kind of a more moderate, slightly wealthier Republican vibe up there. It's a classic New South County where there's not a lot of racial tension. Where Trump, again, he ran a full point behind Mitt Romney. Trump carried the county, but only by, an inch. And this time, with big African-American turnout, with college-educated Republican women and independents abandoning him, there is a good chance Trump will lose Duval County.
Wow.
which if you want to win Florida as a Republican, you don't do. And they report really quick. So watch Duvall and Pinellas for swings. Watch Pasco and Hernando for big Trump numbers till they come down. Watch Sumter if you care about the villages. And then watch Broward, the Democratic stronghold, where Biden will do fine, I believe. And Miami-Dade, where we'll see if Biden can overcome his problems with Cubans by picking up other Latinos and African-American voters.
Well, you're so right about the Latino vote not being monolithic, because having lived in Miami, I mean, it is a real melting pot for so many different Latinos from Puerto Rico, and as you said, from a lot of other South American and Central countries. Well, I'm just going to repeat for people joining us. You feel very confident, Mike Murphy, that Joe Biden will win in the state of Florida. And it's my understanding if President Trump loses in Florida, it's game over.
Yeah, that's why, again, I'm feeling very good. I can't say I'm certain, but I'm feeling very good about Florida. The polling is good in Florida. It's close, but good. Why I like Florida is if Florida pops tonight, then any trouble that Trump and the Russians and other foreign actors may try to make about the large absentee uncounted vote in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan will be moot. And, it just won't have any energy to it. Now, the same thing is true of Ohio. I think there's a decent chance this would be a real upset that Biden could get Ohio. And he's looking really good in Georgia for a state that he has no business winning, really, traditionally. But Georgia's changing demographically, and North Carolina looks good. So I'm hoping there's a clear big win in Ohio or a Florida and Georgia tonight to take away the energy from any yells about you can't trust the vote in Michigan. Those votes were all printed in Hillary's basement, fraud, and all the mischief that, frankly, our institutions don't need to endure.
And in fact, I think Pennsylvania is the one that's going to be the real centerpiece of a Trump challenge, because they allow absentee or mail-in ballots to be voted up to 3 days after Election Day.
Yeah.
And having an absolute cow about that.
Yeah, the truth is, I don't think that'll be many ballots, but it'll get tied up in litigation. Now the Pennsylvania story is this. It's funny. I did a speech with my old Republican colleague Rick Santorum, who's a very smart Pennsylvania politician. He's for Trump, but we were talking about it, and I said, all right, what's the losing scenario in Pennsylvania? And he said, well, it's kind of the obvious one. Trump's going to get killed in Metro Philly. And those suburbs, Delaware, Bucks, Montgomery County, are, again, women are going to kill him there. So he's going to be way behind. Then he's got to get into central Pennsylvania, more rural, some kind of hard hit places like Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, where Trump did very, very, very well before. Can Biden cut into that by not being Hillary? And then finally, it'll come down to western Pennsylvania. Allegheny County, Pittsburgh will probably be good for Biden. But those blue-collar suburbs around there, that's Santorum country, that's where Trump did Superman well last time. If he can't get to the Superman level again and watch Westmoreland County, then the curtain's going to drop in Pennsylvania as well. It just may take us a few days to know.
Let's talk quickly, Mike, about Georgia and North Carolina, 2 states, and Ohio for that matter. I was watching something where Biden is looked at much more favorably by union workers and by working class voters than Hillary Clinton was. And he has embraced unions in a way that has really helped him in states like Ohio. Since I'm talking about Ohio, and no Republican has won the presidency without winning Ohio in how many years, Mike?
Oh, and forever.
Yeah.
That was the old Texas. It was the core. Yeah, keep an eye on Stark County. That's the great swing county in Ohio, south of Cleveland. You can look all this stuff up. It's pretty easy on election night. See what happened in 2016 and see if Trump's doing nearly as well this time. I predict he won't be. Also, those industrial counties south of Cleveland, up there around Wood County, Lucas County, Cleveland, those are great swing counties too. And keep an eye on Dayton. Again, there's secret Republican polling showing Trump actually slightly behind in Ohio. It would be a real lightning bolt if Biden pulls it off. The Biden campaign has gone there late. They put money in, so has Bloomberg. So they're in the hunt there. I mean, one of the problems Trump had was the son-in-law, Kushner, and Brad Parscale, they blew all the money before the convention. So Biden, with the help of groups like Republican Voters Against Trump.org, we've been beating them on TV. So, Trump's getting outgunned, even in Ohio, where he's had to pull a lot of his money out. So Ohio counts all their votes now as well. So Ohio, like Florida, you're going to know a lot about Ohio by tonight.
So when did they start counting the votes, Mike, in Ohio?
Oh, well, they have a slightly different law, but it's been a couple of days. They're doing it. Okay. It's not like Michigan, where they started counting absentees today. In Pennsylvania, they can't count them till the polls close. So they even can't start counting the absentees till tonight. Pennsylvania is not the cutting edge in absentee ballot efficiency.
Why can't we have national laws and set standards for every state? Wouldn't that make sense?
Well, the problem with nationalizing this process is then you get a president like Trump who orders Bill Barr to seize all the ballots. National law might give them some standing to do that. So I like it being totally localized so a crazy president can't screw with it. There have been attempts by, and I'll give them credit as much as I hate to, by the Democrats in some of these states to allow for a Florida-style thing where you count early. Florida's a very good absentee ballot state. They get a lot of them. They know how to do it. And I think there could be national standards that states are encouraged to do. But, some states get very parochial about how they do their elections, and then politics enters. The Republicans didn't want an early count.
Hey, Mike, so my friend Holly Whidden, who's joining us, hi, Holly, wanted to know what you think about Texas. I interviewed Beto O'Rourke. I learned not Beto, and someone corrected me, which I appreciate. What do you think about Texas?
I think Democrats should not be greedy. Maybe it's like I was joking with a friend out here in LA the other day. It's like, wait a minute, what about Texas? Said, look at it. Let's say you write and direct your first movie and all of a sudden it wins the best picture and you're driving home holding the statue and you're grousing about, well, what about best director? Beat Trump. Now, do I think Texas could happen this year? I think it could. I think it's close. The turnout numbers there are unbelievable. But it's the same story, across the South, be it North Carolina, Georgia, and Texas, that the demography is changing. The metro areas are getting super large, and they're more yuppie and more college educated, and this year more Democratic. So there is a real shot it could happen, but the Dems don't need it. That's why the Biden campaign wisely didn't kind of enter into the massive expense of competing there in a huge way. Instead, they're trying to break Trump in Florida, in Georgia, and North Carolina. Yeah, which is a smarter strategy.
A lot of people, Mike, are begging me to ask you about North Carolina. So let me do that. And then, put your phone on a shelf and then you can relax a little more.
Yeah, no, I've been holding it up. This is a good workout here.
If you put it on a shelf, see, I have it leaned up against a bunch of books. See, this is my.
You've got the vanity of mirror light and everything. Huh? Look at this. State-of-the-art Instagramming. Hey. No, I'm fine. That's okay. North Carolina's looking good. Another state that may flip. It's the same story as Virginia, a state you know well. It's changed. So I think the chances of winning in North Carolina are the same as Florida. I think they're both going to pop. I think Georgia is one click less likely. A lot of pundits say Georgia is more likely than Florida. Maybe true. We'll see tonight. So, yeah. And again, the Democrats are, we're talking today not about will Trump win Michigan again or will he win Wisconsin again. They look gone. It's all about will Biden win states right out of Trump, world from 16. And that's a great place to be in because Biden doesn't have to win all these by any means to win.
Hey, somebody just asked a good question. Well, first they asked about the Trafalgar poll, which I don't know about. And they also asked about why the Bush family hasn't been more outspoken about President Trump.
Well, on the Trafalgar poll, there's always a pollster who pops up. And this is a guy from South Carolina Republican politics. And his secret miraculous poll always shows Trump ahead. I would rather get on a diving suit and dive to the bottom of the Atlantic to one of the old Trafalgar naval battle sunken ships to find insight about the election. I'd find more there than I do, in my opinion, in the Trafalgar poll.
So every one of the Trafalgar polls. So if you're, I am going to do Senate races, right? Is that what? So people, Adriana is helping me keep track of all the questions, everybody. This has been so.
Okay, I've got about 8 more minutes, and I've got to go do the small engine repair podcast.
Okay,
but I'll try to race through them.
You are so awesome. Will you come on later tonight, Mike, possibly with me? Because I love talking to you. I know you're busy and you're very popular.
I will try. I am chained to an NBC camera, but we should probably be able to do it on the fly here because nothing's more fun than holding my phone up in the air. So yes, we will figure it out.
Hey, a couple quick questions.
Sure.
I know you got to go. So Arizona, what do you think?
Maricopa County, huge, has grown, and the new voters look more like Democrats than old voters. I think Biden will win it, and most of the polls say the same. The Dems are also in very good shape to pick up the Senate seat there, with McSally likely to lose to former astronaut Mark Kelly.
And the husband of Gabby Giffords.
Yes, the former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. Right.
Yeah. Okay, wait. So we got Arizona. So you're thinking Arizona will go for Biden? Sorry.
Yeah. I think Biden's going to have a great night tonight. It's going to look like what the national polls have been for months, a pretty big Biden win, trickling down to the states.
Okay, let me ask you about some Senate races. And I'll be on later with Mike's colleague, Brian Goldsmith, and then I'm going to beg Mike to talk to me later tonight. Let's talk quickly about some Senate races. All right. So you think Mark Kelly is going to beat Martha McSally? What about Susan Collins and Sarah Gideon?
Well, Susan Collins is good, and she has hung on. And that is an interesting state. There are 2 congressional districts in Maine. One is crunchy, kale and Prius, Burlington, Vermont, where the Dems win by 100 points, and it's totally lefty. The other is like Appalachia, because it's the same mountain range. And that Trump carried that last time. But Collins has been very successful for years at existing in both, being just Republican enough for the Republican district and just not Republican enough for the Portland lefty district. She's also been very good at all the senator pothole stuff, local.
Right.
That said, this year, Trump, I think, is going to lose both congressional districts, even the more Republican one up north, and she will lose. Though she, of all the endangered senators, has been the closest to pulling it off, making what should be an 8-point race into a 3-point one. But if I had to bet, I'd bet against her. I'm also pretty sure that Cory Gardner's going to lose in Colorado. So that gives you 3, Arizona, Colorado, and Maine. But you've got Senator Doug Jones, who's a great moderate, but he's in Alabama in a presidential year.
That's my cousin, very good friend of Doug Jones's, and I think he's probably gonna get beaten, but not. My cousin says not by as much as people are saying.
Yeah, my friend Joe Trippi, who's running the Doug Jones campaign, thinks they're going to pull it off. The polling's close. It would be a miracle. I think he will probably lose, with all respect to Joe, who's also got a great podcast. And but we'll see. I do think it'll be tighter, but I think that's a tough one. Though Jones is a better senator than Tuberville's common knucklehead would be, and I say that as a conservative. Jones is a good moderate. And then you get into the ones that Dems have to win. You got old frisky Cal Cunningham there in North Carolina. He's held the lead.
What do you see happening there? Sorry, I just interrupted you.
No, I would, if I had to bet, I bet he makes it. He's been a little ahead until the Republican incumbent's in trouble. So I think, I'm not certain, but if I had to guess, based on what I know and the political talk and the polling, I think they pick up the Senate seat and Biden carries the state, though narrowly.
So those text messages didn't hurt him. I mean, what's wrong with you men? Can't you keep it in your pants? What the hell?
Well, I'd answer that, but I'm busy texting right now. Anyway, yeah, he I think is good. The thing slowed him down, but it didn't kill him. It looks like, because people tend to vote for imperfect people in bigger causes they're aligned with in a certain year. And being a Democrat, Tillis's problems have helped him. Now, the interesting Senate races are in Georgia, a state where, due to the demographic change in Metro Atlanta, Senator Perdue is running against a guy named John Ossoff. And also, there is a 3-way race for an empty open seat that'll be solved by a runoff later in January. It's possible that Perdue and Ossoff are in a runoff too, but less likely. So Perdue is ahead, favored to win, but the state has been moving to Biden because of Trump's problems. Perdue is an undistinguished senator, in my view. And he made the mistake at a rally of deciding to be a stand-up comedian and doing a little routine about Kamalama Zing Zong, making fun of her name.
I know.
Which was a gift to the Democrats, particularly in Metro Atlanta. And so that's a dead even race now. He also blew a debate. He screwed up. So I think there's a decent upset chance there, which I wouldn't have said a month ago.
Okay, let me ask you real quickly about a couple more. Obviously, I have to ask you about Lindsey Graham. Did Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation, did that help Lindsey Graham? I know it's neck and neck. I interviewed Jamie Harrison a couple of days ago. Lindsey Graham turned me down for an Instagram Live. I couldn't understand it, Mike. But what do you think is going to happen there?
He's offended by softball questions. That's why he doesn't have time. I think Jamie Harrison is going to lose because it's South Carolina in a presidential year, though it'll be close, to his credit, really close. I also think the Amy Coney Barrett thing helped Lindsey. It's one of the more pro-life states. So that it didn't help a lot of Republicans in many places, but I think it helped Lindsey Graham there. I think Lindsey was an old friend of mine who I'm so disappointed in. We hung around a lot together in the old McCain days when I worked for McCain.
What happened?
It's really sad, but I think he'll probably make it very narrowly, though he could lose. If this is like a 1980s surge, Perdue will lose, Lindsey Graham will lose, the Democrats might pick up Montana with Steve Bullock. I mean, there could be a lot of good Democratic surprises if this thing is really big tonight, which it could be.
What the hell happened to Graham, Mike?
I think he wanted to get reelected really, really bad.
I think he's addicted to proximity to power.
Yeah, look, being a U.S. senator is fun. And what Lindsey would argue is, look, I know Trump's crazy, but I'm in there. I'm influencing him. I'm keeping him from being worse. And until the Syria pullout, I think, there maybe was some strength to that argument, but it's been proven, at least to me, that for all the compromises he's made to do that, he doesn't have that much influence. So the big win he's claiming, I don't see it.
Okay. Steve Bullock in Montana, what do you think?
Well, you got Steve Daines, a perfectly good Republican senator there. In a Republican state, Trump's going to win. Although Montana.
Hold on, he's frozen.
So, am I unfrozen now?
Yeah, you're unfrozen. Okay. You were saying about Montana.
Yeah, Montana tends to be a little more Democratic, a little more union than the other mountain states, but Daines has the advantage. Trump will carry the state. But Bullock is a centrist Democratic governor. Now that they're having more trouble with COVID, his shiny record on COVID isn't what it was 2 months ago. So Daines has pulled ahead a little bit. It's close. In a big wave, Bullock will win. In a kind of less big wave, I think Daines will make it by an inch. But it's really close. It's definitely in the hunt.
And what about Joni Ernst?
She was behind 3 weeks ago. There's an Ann Seltzer pullout showing her ahead, showing Trump winning the state. Big. Most of us don't believe that poll because the crosstabs in it, and we talk about this on Hacks on Tap, it is wrong. It shows independents moving 25 points in 30 days. That never happened. So I think she's in a really close race, and in a big Democratic wave, she'll lose. But, if it's not a big Democratic wave, a little more normal, she might make it by an inch. But that is a true 50-50 race right now. I think Trump will carry narrowly Iowa.
Okay, and I'm going to let you go, but you didn't really answer the question about the Bushes, and some of my followers are saying they're better at follow-ups than I am. Why hasn't George W. Bush spoken out more before this election, Mike?
Well, it is traditional that former presidents don't, other than a convention speech, don't go out and do that. It is notable that in the language of former presidents, which you have to kind of decipher, President Bush has refused to endorse Donald Trump. That's a big deal. It's all normally automatic. So he's not doing a Barack Obama out giving speeches like a campaign, which is kind of I know Democrats love it because they hate Trump, but that's not normal post-presidential behavior. So Bush is doing it the old way, but in the old way, he sent the biggest signal he can that he won't endorse the guy, the Republican incumbent. I'll also say that in our Florida effort, Orange Crush, I'm part of the old Bush machine, the Jeb machine down there, and a lot of old Jeb people are helping us beat Trump.
What is the future of your party, Mike? I mean, what are you going to do after this?
Well, that's another podcast, I think, or another Insta blog video thing on the interweb for the kids. So I'm going to be going into that later on Dumont, somewhere I'm a little more comfortable technology wise. We might introduce color TV tonight, but it's going to be a big civil war between the populism of Trump and the opportunity, more modern conservative of, people I think are the future of the party.
Yeah,
where we can win again.
even without if there's no President Trump, Trumpism will still exist, and who knows how he's going to try to wield his influence. So,
yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Mike, so fun talking to you. Everybody wants you back by popular demand, so maybe you'll do something with me tonight.
And I will try. I promise. I will try. I just have to work around the golden handcuffs of the National Broadcasting Company.
I got you. Yeah. I'll text you, and between now and then, learn how to put your phone against something so you don't have to hold it up.
Oh, I like to work with the big equipment here, but I'll find a way. Thank you, Katie. It was fun.
The mighty have fallen. Okay. Bye, Mike. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, bye. If you guys like what you see, subscribe right here.